Hello. So I want to do a little off-the-cuff video today and talk to you about cleansing, body, and self-love a little bit. This is something that I have talked about over the years. I used to be way more into it publicly about how I was eating and clean eating and hashtag holistic junkie and all that kind of stuff. The reason that I got into that was because I had really severe psoriasis. And so I did a healing diet. And for the first time ever, I watched my skin all over my body completely regenerate. It was the first miracle that tapped me into the fact that how I take care of my body has the potential to affect absolutely everything else in my life. And for 9 years now, I've had a relationship with psoriasis in varying degrees. While I've experienced full healing at certain stages, I've also had spots come back, and I have had a persistent amount of psoriasis over the last years. For example, you can see this little spot right here under my eyebrow. That's a pretty persistent one. Flaking ears, scalp, and a couple other spots that I use light therapy and, diet and lifestyle and taking care of myself to really maintain. The thing is, over the past 2 years specifically, I really went into hiding in a lot of ways. I gained about 30 pounds. I started eating a lot more foods that I didn't eat before, and I really let loose. And I'm really glad that I did, because I needed that time to reset, to give myself permission to not put so much emphasis and pressure on myself in the food department. And I think to let my body kind of just settle into itself. And in that time, I've had periods of feeling like I need to change this. But recently, something has been different in the energy of that. I've really felt like ready to clean up the food equation a bit, in the sense of like going simple to the nourishing foods that really make me feel good. And over the years, every single time I've done some sort of cleanse or the more extreme kinds of dietary systems that I've tried in this kind of self-discovery that I've had with body, something in each of those has stuck. Every single time I've come out of something with a different flavor profile, a different kind of craving. The biology of my body has shifted, evolved, changed. My microbiome, the bacteria in my gut has actually changed, so that I crave healthier foods and I am more drawn to those. And what I notice, it goes both ways, right? So if I'm eating like Cheetos and pizza all the time, my body's going to crave that. But that switch can be turned off like bam, so quickly. And I've learned that over the years because I've done it in so many different ways. And so right now, I am really in that shift, making that shift for myself of making more self-loving choices when it comes to food. And I actually am going to be starting something. It's a product called MMS, and I need a little bit more information on a starting protocol for it. So what I decided to do, I had planned on starting it on Monday, and I didn't have the information I needed. So I said, you know what, I'm going to start the food component of the cleanse anyway, because I had set that intention to start, and I wanted to start, and I had set up everything in my environment to begin. And that is one of the first things that I always do when I decide to make a change for myself. I fashion my environment to support the choices that I'm going to be making. Because if there's stuff here that is not aligned with that, it is just so easy to eat it when it's there. And when it's not here, it's like not even a thought. I might have that nagging craving come up like in my mind, but it's purely mental because it's not actually physically in front of me. And it takes away its power. And, I used to think that there was something wrong with that I had to have some kind of willpower, like, having some certain foods like in the environment and needing to exercise some sort of moderation with them. But what I've come to find is that, I get to decide what is healthy for me. And, if if there's something in the house that I'm gonna like be eating all the time, even though I don't really want to, but it's there, so I'm eating it all the time, like that just doesn't feel good to me. So I don't need to like create willpower games to see like what I'm gonna be more easily, drawn to, or like what I can say no to or whatever. Like I'm gonna set up my life to support what it is that I'm working on. That's in my writing, in my relationships, in my food equation, whatever it is. And, I take a lot of space and a lot of time to make that happen for myself. And it is this real selfishness that I think sometimes can be really misunderstood. But what I've come to believe is that I am so worth it. I am worth arranging, creating, designing everything in my life to support what it is that I want. Because what I find is that when I do that for myself, the way that I show up in my life is so powerful, it's so loving, it's so giving. The energy of who I am is just like shimmering out in these beautiful ripples of love. And to me, like that is like one of the most, like that's like a no-brainer way to give, by just showing up as who we are, being proud, being unashamed, and loving that about ourselves, and just moving forward gently determined. That's like another phrase that I've been coming up with lately, or that popped into the writing this week, to really move forward with a gentle determination to always start again. And that's what I found it being, instead of labeling it as yo-yoing or cycles or whatever. It's like, if I get a little out of something, there's always going to be something that's going to draw me back. There's going to be something that like alerts me, and then there's going to be a return. There's going to be like feeling not so good in my body, or having some kind of irritability, lethargy, like puffiness that I can feel. Those kinds of things just bring our awareness up to the level of like, I want something different. And the return is coming back to a practice that is so loving, nurturing. It brings that calm, that peace back into the body. So on Monday, I started doing this cleanse, and to give you kind of basics of how I'm eating, it's primarily whole foods, primarily plants, beans, rice, all vegetables, all fruits, nut butters, herbs and spices, and just making pretty much all of my food, and having some simple, 10 ingredients or less items that, I've learned to love over the years, like Lara bars and things like that, and going back to basics. And it feels so good. Like, the first day, I remember, I think it was on Tuesday, that I had this lull. Like I just felt really like tired and unmotivated and apathetic. It's almost like this floating feeling, like I felt really nothing mattered. I was totally uninspired to write, and I ended up sleeping a lot that day. And I think that was a natural part of the detox. Some periods of tiredness can come in where your body is just like discharging these toxins. And what it reminds me of is yesterday, I actually did a soak on my dreadlocks. I've let them go like year and a half and not done a proper like deep cleaning of them. So I did that yesterday, and the water after it was like totally like, it was like a muddy river. It was really yuck. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that I've been like carrying in these little hair sponges up here. And the body does the same thing. It holds on to and stores all these different emotions and experiences and substances for us. And sometimes that's useful, but sometimes we no longer need those things. And so by really simplifying what we're taking in and, cleaning, just Like, I just think of like sweet potatoes and apples and water and like all these whole natural foods, you know, they help to just kind of like little brushes, like sweeping out a lot of those toxins. The body's just helping, you know, it lightens the load so the body's able to take care of those things and move them out. And so in some of those periods, you can, you know, I've experienced tiredness and just needed to sleep more to let my body kind of do that work, because it just, man, it goes to work right away when you shift things in the, you know, in what you're putting in your body. It's absolutely phenomenal. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit today, because you know, that's a huge factor in how I show up in the world, my confidence level, like on these videos. And, you know, at some point, like when you have a certain amount of knowledge and experience, it feels really like resistant and unnatural to be going against the grain of like what you truly believe is good for you. And so, you know, if I'm just like eating junky food all the time, that's not who I am anymore. Like, it's just not who I am. And over the years, I found myself like wanting to socially fit in or be more understood by people that are even close to me. But I realized that I would rather be go through periods of alienation, being misunderstood, or, you know, even having to learn to stand up within myself and make choices confidently that are in my highest good, regardless of what anyone else around me is doing. And I feel like that's just a huge calling for me in my life. You know, it affects my work, my creativity, like I was saying, my confidence levels, and it's something that is just so precious, and we are so precious. And so I see that as like one of the most tremendous gifts, you know, self-love, self-care, truly caring for ourselves. And, you know, there are so much ease and flow that can come with it, but there can also be a lot of challenges. And so, you know, it's in those moments that it's like you come back to the reason, like, why am I doing this for real? Is it because I want a smaller waistline, or, you know, I want to be like shooting selfies of myself all the time again? Or is it because like I just want to know what it's like to live up to the potential that I know that I have, to care for myself, to be healthy in this life, all the things that I want to do, all the places I want to go and travel and see, and be an active person like I've always been. And, you know, that is, you know, sometimes we can make some decisions that make us feel so separate from that. And I've really experienced that over the past couple years, being so much less active, being stagnant in a lot of ways, eating a lot of junky foods that weigh me down, and missing so deeply that part of myself that has this limitless freedom of potential in this life. And, you know, that's what cleansing like opens up for me, truly. So a little peek into that today. I wanted to talk about that because that's like been a big thing that's going on. And, you know, I'll talk about it and give progress. And it's not like I don't have any expectations of weight loss or expect any certain result from this. I'm just doing this because of all the things that I mentioned, like opening up the gateway of my own potential in this life to feel fucking phenomenal. And everything stems from that. I mean, like, healthy breeds more healthy. And like when you feel good, like you can get in that mode of being like, I am absolutely unstoppable. And just, it affects your mind, you know, like what we put in like affects how we think, how we function, our ability to be positive and just allow those solutions, be an open channel for solutions to come in. So on a spiritual level, it's just absolutely so empowering. Anyways, people, I am gonna finish my tea and I will see you next week. Thanks for enjoying these videos on SelfLoving TV, and I love you. Bye. I'm still rolling.